There is a soul somewhere connected to your journey that carries an incredibly deep love for you. Yet despite everything they feel, this person has deliberately chosen to keep their distance. Before your mind begins creating explanations or rushing toward conclusions, pause for a second and breathe slowly. Because the message finding its way to you right now is not random or ordinary in any sense. This exact moment, these exact words, and the timing surrounding them are all unfolding through a higher connection that was meant to reach you. This is confirmation, a sign. The quiet truth your intuition has been trying to whisper to you beneath all the confusion, mixed signals, and unanswered questions. None of this is accidental. Nothing happening here is meaningless. Sometimes life reveals its deepest truths only when everything becomes still enough for you to finally hear what your spirit already knows. And your spirit already understands this connection is real. There is someone tied to your path, maybe someone from your past, or someone who once stood extremely close to your heart, who feels a devotion toward you so powerful they struggle to express it aloud. Inside them exists an emotional intensity they do not know how to manage, and a longing they cannot escape no matter how much physical or emotional distance they create. Do not mistake their silence for indifference. Their quietness is overflowing with emotions too overwhelming for them to organize. In fact, the more their love deepens, the stronger their urge becomes to retreat. It is as though loving you has become both the greatest gift they have ever received and the most frightening emotional challenge they have ever faced in their entire life. This is the truth their soul already recognizes, even if their actions attempt to hide it. They stay away because you reached something buried deep within them. You awakened a part of their inner world that had been asleep beneath years of emotional defenses and protective walls. If you are dealing with someone who clearly loves you but continues pulling away, hit like right now. As Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both people are transformed. And that transformation is exactly what happened between the two of you. You changed them in ways they never expected. You made them aware of hidden sides of themselves they had never shown anyone before. You slowly opened walls they spent years carefully constructing. You touched an area of their soul they themselves did not fully understand until your presence uncovered it. You are not simply another passing person in their story. You became a mirror reflecting both their deepest desires and their deepest fears. You reflect the life they secretly crave while also exposing every emotional wound they tried to ignore for years. They have never experienced feelings this intense, this authentic, or this difficult to control before. Without even trying, you lowered their defenses. Around you, their soul felt exposed, transparent, and emotionally uncovered. And vulnerability was never something they were taught to feel safe with. You were never part of the future they originally imagined for themselves. You arrived unexpectedly and shifted their world completely. They were not prepared for the sparks that appeared between you during simple conversations. They were not prepared for the strange peace they felt when you were near. And they certainly were not prepared for the terrifying realization that losing you would feel like losing the very air keeping them alive. This person keeps their distance not because they lack feelings, but because they are deeply frightened by the emotional power you hold over them. You became the one voice that matters more than all the noise around them. The one opinion capable of reaching straight into their spirit. You became a reflection they are still not fully ready to face. Comment deep love if you know someone who cares intensely, yet keeps their distance to protect their own fragile emotions. To them, loving you feels like stepping off the edge of something impossibly high, without knowing whether there will be safety waiting below. And instead of taking that emotional leap, they remain frozen in isolation they created themselves. Their distance is secretly tied to guilt. Deep down, they believe you deserve someone more healed, stable, and emotionally complete than they currently feel themselves to be. They replay old mistakes repeatedly in their head. They revisit conversations, moments, and regrets, terrified their unresolved pain might eventually damage something that feels sacred and irreplaceable. Inside, their silence lives a constant whisper, reminding them they are still not ready to stand before you as the best version of themselves. Hit like if you recognize that their silence is not rejection at all, but a protective shield created by their own feelings of inadequacy. They feel your connection in places logic cannot fully explain. And no matter how far away they go, you remain permanently present inside their emotional world. Every distraction eventually fades. Every attempt to replace this bond feels empty because their heart remains loyal to the essence of what the two of you shared, even while their mind fears the vulnerability attached to it. As Carl Jung wrote, what you resist persists. And the harder they try to push this connection away, the stronger it becomes inside their unconscious mind. Their silence carries unspoken truths, hidden confessions, and the weight of past heartbreaks that convince them closeness only leads to suffering. That is why you feel both precious and dangerous to their peace at the same time. Subscribe and comment recovery if you are ready to understand that their heart is slowly trying to overcome this fear. Right now, they are testing themselves emotionally. They are trying to discover whether they can stand strongly on their own before they are finally capable of standing beside you. Behind the mask of independence and behind the quietness they show the world, there are nights where they lie awake, emotionally unraveling beneath the pressure of everything left unsaid between you. Deep inside, they know that even one honest step toward you would transform their entire life forever. And that level of change still terrifies them. Their absence is not freedom. It is self-imposed exile. It is an attempt to calm the chaos inside them before facing the powerful stillness your presence brings into their world. Type yes if you want to understand why they continue staying away, despite loving you so deeply. They already know that one completely honest conversation would make their emotions impossible to hide anymore. And once the truth is spoken aloud, there is no returning to the comfort of emotional shadows and avoidance. Because loving you means committing fully, completely, deeply. And right now, giving that much of themselves to another person frightens them more than they can explain. So they continue hiding behind the illusion that someday there will finally be a perfect moment. They convince themselves they will come forward when they feel stronger, more healed, or when life finally becomes easier to manage. But their soul already understands something important. Healing rarely waits for convenient timing. Even from a distance, they constantly wonder whether your heart still carries space for them or whether you have finally closed the door forever. But the deeper truth is this: they are coming back. Not because they suddenly became perfect, but because eventually the pain of living without you will become heavier than the fear of emotional vulnerability. To outsiders, they may appear calm, composed, and unaffected. But privately, this separation feels like a silent emotional wound that returns every time the noise of everyday life disappears. They miss you not as a simple memory, but as the only place where they ever truly felt emotionally understood and spiritually at home. Everything felt lighter around you, more honest, more alive, more real. As Carl Jung observed, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will continue directing a person's life, and they will call it fate. Their hidden fears of being unworthy push them into retreat, but their soul continues pulling them back toward the light you awakened inside them. This connection represents a major turning point in their destiny, a doorway requiring the exact honesty they spent years avoiding. Deep down, they know the life waiting beyond fear is the same life connected to you. Subscribe and comment home if you are ready to welcome the version of them that finally chooses truth over fear, love over avoidance, and emotional honesty over silence. At night, when sleep refuses to arrive and they lie awake staring into the darkness above, their mind drifts toward all the things left unfinished. They think about the words they never managed to say, the apologies still sitting heavily inside them, the truths they buried deep, and the moments they wish they could return to and live differently. Again and again, they imagine reaching out to you. They replay conversations in their head and picture what they would finally say if fear did not stand in their way. They type long messages only to erase every line before sending them. They pause over your name, waiting for courage to suddenly appear inside them. They rehearse conversations they are still too frightened to begin. Every attempt collapses under the same painful thought. What if it is already too late now? What if you have already continued your life without them? What if the door they once left open has finally closed forever? Even with all those fears, they cannot stop holding on to hope that you still feel the connection between you. They wonder if you still sense the bond underneath all the silence. They wonder if your heart still recognizes theirs in the same deep way their heart recognizes you. They wonder if your spirit still reaches for them during quiet moments when the world becomes still. Some nights they feel completely certain you are thinking of them too. There are moments when your name suddenly enters their thoughts with such force it feels almost impossible to explain, as though something invisible keeps pulling them back toward you, no matter how hard they resist it. The truth is, they are terrified of losing you permanently. Even though they are the ones creating distance, it is not because they stopped caring. In many ways, the distance is only a strange form of self-protection. They are pushing away the very person who could truly heal them, because deep down they fear what love this strong could do to them. Comment fear if you feel their silence comes from fear rather than absence of love. They exist inside a painful contradiction. They run away from the thing they desire most deeply. They remain silent about the emotions they most need to express. They deny themselves the kind of love that could completely transform their life because they never fully believed they deserved something this real or this pure. If they sometimes appear cold, detached, or indifferent, understand that it is only a mask. It is armor they built long ago in order to survive difficult emotional wounds. From early on, they learned that showing emotions could lead to pain. Depending on someone felt dangerous. Loving deeply felt like opening the door to future heartbreak. So they spent years building thick emotional walls around themselves. Then you entered their life and somehow slipped through those walls without force, without struggle, without even trying. That is exactly why they step backward now. That is why they disappear at times. Part of them desperately wants to rebuild those defenses again, but every attempt fails because their heart continues choosing you, no matter how hard their mind fights to regain control. They keep waiting for the perfect moment to finally speak honestly. Deep inside, they already know no perfect moment truly exists for a connection this intense. Still, they continue telling themselves they need more time to heal old wounds, more time to grow into the version of themselves they hope to become, more time to understand how to love without fear controlling every decision. But slowly, time itself has become a trap they cannot escape. Every extra day of waiting makes the distance feel heavier rather than easier. Every day of silence adds another layer of pressure to the truth they are trying to avoid. Every moment spent pretending only increases the emotional weight they carry inside. They imagine returning to you stronger than before, calm and fearless, able to speak clearly without hesitation or uncertainty. They picture themselves standing in front of you, finally knowing all the right words. But real life does not wait until someone feels completely ready. Love does not pause itself until healing feels complete. Sometimes the only way forward is to leap before certainty exists. They are beginning to understand that waiting for perfect conditions often causes people to lose what matters most in their life. Right now, they feel stuck between movement and fear. One part of them longs to move toward you, while another part still clings to old defenses. It feels almost as if life itself keeps gently guiding them back toward you, while fear continues pulling them in the opposite direction. They are trying to quiet the chaos inside themselves long enough to finally hear the deeper truth hidden underneath all the confusion. The truth is simple. They are deciding whether to continue living behind emotional barriers or finally surrender to the connection they can no longer deny. Sometimes they think you may have become stronger without them. Maybe you learned how to move on. Maybe you no longer wait for them the way you once did. Maybe you stopped searching for signs of them completely. That possibility hurts them more deeply than they can explain. In fact, part of them would rather continue suffering in silence than risk discovering they waited too long and lost you forever. Yet beneath all the fear, delay, confusion, and distance, one truth remains unchanged. They never stopped loving you. The separation was never created because their feelings faded away. The distance exists because the love became so overwhelming they did not know how to carry it without feeling emotionally exposed. They are not gone forever. Right now, they are gathering strength, little by little. They are building courage slowly, piece by piece. Every day, they are fighting an internal battle between fear and destiny, between safety and the deep pull of what feels meant to be. They are beginning to realize, slowly and painfully, that silence does not actually protect love. Silence slowly weakens it. Eventually, there will come a moment, whether quietly or suddenly, when something inside them finally breaks open completely. A moment when they can no longer continue staying away from you. A moment when their heart becomes louder than every fear they carried for years. A moment when avoiding you becomes more painful than the risk of finally choosing you fully. And when that day arrives, the separation between you will end. They are coming back, not halfway, not uncertain, not emotionally unavailable, but fully honest, fully open, and fully present. Because your story together is not over yet. Your chapter with them still remains unfinished. Love this deep does not simply disappear. It changes shape. It evolves quietly beneath the surface. During all this silence, they have been changing internally in ways you cannot yet see. Even if it feels like nothing is happening, everything inside them is shifting. Distance forced them to confront themselves directly, and that is one of the hardest battles any person can face. Being away from you became like standing in front of a mirror that reflected every truth they once tried to escape from. It exposed emotions they buried for years. It uncovered wounds they tried to ignore. It stripped away the protective layers they spent so long building around their heart. Now they are left standing face to face with themselves. No distractions remain. No excuses remain. No place left to run from the painful reality that losing your presence created one of the deepest emotional pains they have ever experienced. Instead of continuing to run outward, they slowly began turning inward. At first, they resisted it. They did not want to face what was hidden there. But little by little, they started discovering who they really are beneath all the pretending. They are beginning to see that what they once believed was strength, shutting down emotionally, staying distant from people, isolating themselves from intimacy, was actually emotional numbness. It may have helped them survive difficult times, but it was never a true way to live. Numbness is not healing. Silence is not power. And now, when they think about you, they recognize someone who made them feel safe enough to hope again. Someone around whom they could not continue pretending to be someone else. The distance gave them time to reflect deeply, and now they are seeing clearly what fear once blinded them from recognizing. They finally understand how deeply you truly saw them, and that realization scares them, because being fully seen means becoming vulnerable to loss. Opening your heart means admitting someone matters enough to hurt you if they disappear. Yet they are slowly learning that the greatest danger is not losing you. The greatest danger is missing the opportunity to experience something rare and genuine simply because fear kept controlling them. They now understand they cannot truly love you completely while still refusing to face the hidden parts of themselves they always avoided. They cannot build something lasting while continuing to hide behind emotional walls. They cannot move fully toward you while carrying old, unhealed pain everywhere they go. So now they are learning differently. They are breaking old, emotional patterns they once believed would stay with them forever. Life itself seems to be pulling them away from the person they used to be and guiding them through painful but necessary transformation. For a long time, they were afraid of being loved because deep inside they felt undeserving of it. Now they are confronting the shadow parts Carl Jung described, the hidden, rejected, wounded, and buried sides of the personality they spent years trying not to see.